Welcome to Silent Secrets. In today's video, we're diving into a story about control, deception, and the kind of silence that can destroy a person from the inside out. Before we begin, remember, the people who look calm on the outside often carry storms you'll never see. If you enjoy these deep, cinematic stories, take a moment to subscribe and tap that bell icon. It helps the channel grow and ensures you never miss what's coming next. Now, let's begin. Chapter 1. The calm before the storm. His pace slowed, then stopped. He turned toward me with a faint smile. Eyes unreadable. "They're here," he said, voice low, calm as ever. "Now the real fun starts." Those words sent a chill down my spine. Rick always spoke that way, as if every sentence carried two meanings. He was my father's closest friend, but something about him always felt different. Controlled, calculated. Like he could predict what people would do before they even knew it themselves. I followed his gaze toward the window. Headlights flickered through the trees. The guests had arrived. "Remember," he murmured. "Act normal." I nodded, trying to steady my breath. Chapter 2. The gathering. Laughter echoed from downstairs. The kind of laughter that fills a room but doesn't quite reach anyone's eyes. My father, Tom, and Gary, the three of them had known each other since before I was born. They built their friendship on trust, business, and a long history of secrets. Rick was different. He was newer to the circle, but somehow he knew more than any of them. When I entered the living room, all four men turned briefly. The air tightened for a moment, just enough for me to feel it. "Hey, you made it," Dad said cheerfully. "Of course," I replied, forcing a smile. Rick's eyes met mine. Only for a second, but in that single glance I understood. Something was off tonight. The TV blared in the background, but the energy in the room was wired, tense, and watchful. Chapter 3. A whisper in the hall later that evening. While the game raged on and laughter filled the air, I slipped into the hallway to get some air. That's when I heard it, hushed voices behind the door to my father's study. I shouldn't have stopped, but I did. Rick's voice was unmistakable. "We can't wait any longer," he said quietly. Then Tom's reply, deeper, anxious. "You're sure she doesn't know?" My pulse spiked. Who were they talking about? The door creaked, and I barely stepped away in time before Rick appeared. His expression was unreadable. "You shouldn't be here," he said softly. "I was just getting water," I stammered. He studied me, not with suspicion, but something heavier. "Stay close tonight," he said finally, and walked away. Those words replayed in my head again and again. Chapter 4. The File. When the guests finally left, the house went quiet. My father was asleep in his chair, the empty glasses still on the table. Rick's coat was draped neatly over the couch. Something about it bothered me. Rick never forgot things. I reached inside the coat pocket and found a small flash drive, unlabeled. I hesitated only a moment before plugging it into my laptop upstairs. The folder opened instantly. Inside were a dozen encrypted files, one open note titled "The Agreement." The first line made my stomach drop. If she ever finds out, everything ends. Chapter 5. The call my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. "Don't touch that drive again," a voice said calmly on the other end. Rick's voice. "How do you—" "I told you to stay close, didn't I?" Silence. Then he added, "Meet me tomorrow. The coffee shop on 5th, noon." The line went dead. That night, I didn't sleep. I just replayed every look, every whisper, every strange moment from the last few weeks. Rick wasn't just my father's friend. He was watching something, or someone. And now, I was part of it. Chapter 6. The meeting. The next day, the city felt sharper, like every sound had meaning. Rick was already waiting at the cafe. Same calm face, same careful posture, But his eyes were different. Cold, deliberate. He slid an envelope across the table. Read it. Then decided. Inside were photos. Grainy surveillance shots of my father, Tom, and Gary in an unfamiliar warehouse. Boxes stacked high. Men moving in and out. What is this? I whispered. Proof, Rick said, of what they've done. And what they're hiding from you. I looked up at him. Why show me this? Because, he said, leaning in, you're the only one they'll never suspect. Chapter 7. The envelope. The photographs spread across the cafe table like a deck of cards from a game I didn't remember agreeing to play. Rick sat back, calm as a chess master, letting me take it all in. Each picture showed my father, Tom, and Gary at that same warehouse, entering late at night, leaving before dawn. The timestamps stretched back months. What are they moving? I asked. Rick tilted his head slightly. Do you really want to know? The question hit harder than the answer ever could. My throat tightened. Why didn't you just go to the police? He gave a humorless smile. Because this isn't about the law. This is about loyalty and survival. The air around us thickened. Somewhere behind the counter, a cup shattered. The barista mumbled an apology. But Rick didn't flinch. His gaze was locked on me. You've seen enough, he said finally. Destroy the drive. Pretend you never found it. And stay away from your father's study. Then softer. Please. He stood and left, leaving the envelope behind. Chapter 8. The lockbox I didn't destroy the drive. That night, when the house was quiet again, I opened my father's study. The air smelled like dust and old wood polish, the kind of stillness that hides secrets. Behind the bookshelves was a small lockbox. My father had always been careless about details, but I remembered something, the code he used for almost everything. My birthday, it worked. Inside I found more documents. Receipts, maps, photos, and one thin folder labeled Archive R. The first page wasn't a business file. It was a report about Rick Lines of Type, former intelligence consultant, discharged, under investigation. Unresolved cases. My hands trembled. Rick wasn't watching my father. My father had been watching him. Chapter 9. The dinner, the next evening, Dad invited them all over again. Tom, Gary, and Rick, all sitting at the same table, pretending everything was fine. The laughter was louder this time, forced, nervous. Every time I looked at Rick, he met my gaze briefly, like he was trying to tell me something, or warn me. When Dad raised a toast, his hand shook slightly. To old friends, he said, and new beginnings. Rick's glass clinked against his, but his eyes never left mine. Something was about to happen. I could feel it. Halfway through dinner, my father excused himself to take a call. Rick followed him to the hall. Tom leaned closer to me, lowering his voice. You shouldn't trust him, he said quietly. Rick, he's not who you think he is. Before I could reply, Dad returned, his expression cold. Everything all right? He asked. Rick smiled faintly. Perfectly. Chapter 10. The night shift. That night, I followed my father. He left around midnight, his car moving slowly down the road toward the industrial district. I kept my headlights off, keeping distance, heart hammering. He parked near the same warehouse from Rick's photos. From the shadows, I watched as he entered. Minutes later, 2 more cars arrived, Tom and Gary. They were moving crates again. But this time, Rick was there too. He wasn't helping. He was filming, and when my father noticed, the shouting began. I couldn't hear words, just movement, gestures, tension rising like a wave. Then a sound, and sharp, metallic. Final. My body froze. A gunshot. The echo carried across the lot, fading into the night. Chapter 11. The frame police lights painted the night in flashes of red and blue. When they arrived, my father was sitting on the ground, hands trembling, Rick nowhere in sight. Tom and Gary were speaking over each other, their voices breaking. The officers moved quickly. One searched the crates, another took photos. Inside, instead of weapons or drugs, they found something else. Documents. Thousands of them. Contracts, receipts, and bank transfers. Someone had been laundering money through fake shipments. But whose idea had it been? Rick's voice echoed in my head. You're the only one they'll never suspect. He had planned this. Every move, every whisper, every word, and he was gone. Chapter 12. The note 2 days later, a letter arrived. No return address. No name, just one line. They built a lie. You exposed it. Now keep it that way. Inside was the flash drive. Wiped clean. I destroyed it, just like he said. But I couldn't destroy the question that haunted me. Had Rick been protecting me? Or using me? Chapter 13. The return weeks passed. The house grew quieter. My father never spoke about that night. Tom and Gary stopped visiting. Then, one evening, as I locked the door, I noticed something on the porch. A small package. Inside, a photograph. Me, sitting at the cafe. Rick in the background watching, on the back. Written in neat handwriting. One day, you'll understand why I did it. Chapter 14. The shadow in the mirror. Months later, I thought it was finally over. But then, strange things began happening again. Calls with no voice. Footsteps outside, the feeling of being watched. One night, I saw him, standing across the street under the streetlight. Rick, he didn't move, didn't wave, just watched, then turned and disappeared into the fog. Chapter 15. The truth beneath the silence. I began piecing everything together. The photos, the files, the flash drive. Rick wasn't exposing my father. He was protecting him from something larger, something I still didn't understand. The warehouse wasn't a crime scene. It was evidence storage for something classified. My father hadn't been laundering money. He'd been hiding data for people Rick once worked for. And when those people wanted it back, Rick staged everything. The shooting, the betrayal, the frame, just to remove the files safely. He'd sacrificed everything, including his name, to make sure no one else got them.